I think I got a picture here. So this is his I'm going to take his thoughts here and kind of go in a direction that he wasn't really intending, just in case you know about the cave. He said, most of humanity, it's like people are on the lower left there, shackled, chained up. Their neck is shackled. They can only look forward, and they can't turn and look. Behind them is a little wall and a fire of light, and then there's these people that parade objects that cast a shadow in front of them. Well, their whole life, they've seen nothing but these shadows moving, and they think reality. They argue and discuss which image is going to come next, what does it mean, and that they think these shadows, that's reality. They don't know about the fire, okay? And so, finally, someone is freed from that, and they're pulled up. At first, they encounter the fire. They look at the fire. They're so confused. Well, there's no shadow. What is this bright light? It hurts my eyes. I don't get it. And they start to put together, wait a minute, there's that thing and the shadow, and when you move one, the other moves. And then they come out of the cave, and they see the sun, and their mind is really blown. Like, what in the world is going on? And they start to realize, wait a minute, for every substantive thing I see, there's a corresponding shadow. And the only reason I see the shadow is because of the light. So the shadow, it's not substantive. It's not real. The thing is real that makes the shadow illumined by the sun. And his mind is blown, and he's like, this is amazing. I thought the shadows were the real thing. He's all excited, so he goes back to the cave to tell his friends about, hey, the reality is different than what you think. What you have been seeing your whole life is not all that there is. They're like, man, you've been away too long. It's not worth going upstairs where you've been. Your vision is all screwed up because these shadows, this is real. Watch, these shadows are the closing of the American mind. He said this, the failure to read good books both enfeebles the vision and strengthens our most fatal tendency, that the here and now is all that there is. He is not thinking of Scripture as a good book, but I do. When we don't read Scripture, we're trapped into the here and now. I see the shadows, that's all that there is. To the degree that you think the here and now is all that there is the degree you will be lost in hopelessness. Just straight up the way it is. If today what you see is all that there is, where are you going to get hope? So the prisoner goes back and he tries to communicate this. His former prisoners won't have any of it. They think he's blind. You can't see straight anymore. And then they want to kill him, conspire. They want to conspire to kill him. You don't see straight anymore. We want to kill you. They think he's blind. So why am I telling you this story? We are born spiritually blind. We grow up in a world seeing shadows, and everybody thinks that's all there is. This is reality. And we don't entertain the thought that there could be light. Jesus, the light, his life is light, until we're freed and we see Jesus and we're like, wait a minute. You're telling me there's a whole nother existence of reality behind the shadows. And yes, there is. Fascinating. We meet Jesus. He frees us from the shackles. We look directly at the light without being consumed by his holiness because of Jesus. We're reborn and spiritually alive. We start to understand that there's substance in the universe that's different from the shadows of what we see. Remember Colossians? A lot of things are just shadows, but the substance belongs to Christ. And the light of Jesus is what illuminates that. And we want to make sure we focus on the substance and not just the shadow. So he goes back and tries to tell his friends, and if you have believed in Jesus from the shackles, you've gone up out of the cave, and you're rejoicing that you understand the sun illuminates everything. He is substantive. He is real. He is reality. But some of us have family and friends that are still shackled in the cave. And you talk about reality outside the cave. You talk about the light. You talk about Jesus. His life is the light of men. He illuminates our path. He gives us grace and forgiveness. And they're like, man, you've been away too long. You don't understand the shadows. You're crazy. you're blind and you're crazy, right? That's what they say. But how did Jesus do this? Remember, belong with me, hang out with me. He lovingly and patiently, with a few maybe private eye rolls, go in the closet. Oh, Father, you won't believe this. Okay, that's fine. Sometimes we have to remove ourselves, gasp, and then re-enter. But he was kind and loving. So some of our friends and family are right there, convinced of the shadows. And can I say this? That everybody that Jesus talked to about the light and reality didn't buy it, right? And so in that sense, he wasn't very successful. If you count every encounter, everybody didn't believe. A lot of people rejected him, said, you're crazy. That gives me hope. I don't have to convince everybody. I don't have to have a 87-0 record evangelizing, right? Okay, you see what I'm saying? So there's hope. So I love it that I just like that analogy that the people we know that don't know Christ are shackled looking at shadows, and the Spirit of God can work in their life through sometimes apologetics, through good questions and just heart, other times a crisis in life, and maybe you lovingly serve and come alongside them in compassion and care at a vulnerable time. But the light, are you afraid of the work of God and his Spirit? We want to focus on the substance of who he is and what he's done, okay? So, got a couple key questions here. We always like to wrap up with some thoughtful questions. Are you afraid of the light? Are you hiding anything? Secret sins are exposed by his presence. Psalm 90, verse 8. Our secret sin, a love problem. Are you a behave, believe first? Like behave? Oh, here's a list. Behave. Or will you belong? Will you let others belong with you? Like Jesus, Matthew, the crook, and Simon, the violent guy. Hey, spend time with me. My table is open to you. Oh, yeah, I know you don't believe like we do. Pass the turkey. Let's just enjoy. And that's a tall order for our culture, because we hear that, we're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And we have to just get the gospel deeper into our behavior. So we'll take a couple minutes. We'll have some music here, but I just invite you, and I invite the space, your love, your kindness. And so we take it as a package, and may we not hide and think that we can even have something called a secret sin. So we invite you to invade our lives, and we want to find the forgiveness and the grace that awaits. And Lord, give us wisdom. We see so many shadows in this world, so many things that aren't substantive and really aren't based in reality. Yet we're here. We're in a physical world. We have to mow the lawn and patch the roof and clean the windows and do stuff. But may we understand that your life is reality, and your blood, you are the new covenant. And may we study Scripture thoroughly, and may we make the gap and bridge it and understand you, the person of Jesus Christ, is the reason that we have hope